Hello, my friend Patrick here again. How you doing today? I thought I'd make it just a different kind of video for you today, probably just a short one, but I wanted to talk a little bit about wealth and what is wealth. Wealth is the ownership of income producing capital. Wealth is the ownership of income producing capital. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about it because it's an important topic for a lot of people, especially younger people that are starting out or they're in the workforce still. I'm in a different position in my life in that I'm retired. And so um, I did some things in my life that enabled me to build up a little bit of residual income. So I have some residual income that provides me a modest income, but it affords me time freedom. So it allows me to pursue other interests like reading and studying and making these videos once a day or what have you. So it can be very valuable to have wealth under control if you can be debt free and pay off your credit cards. Credit cards charge like 18% interest, an insane amount of interest. The bank, collects money. They give you how much. So let me just backtrack here. If you were to deposit money into your bank account, how much interest would the bank pay you? Currently, my bank, it's a typical Canadian bank, one of the big five or however many big Canadian banks there are, five or six banks. It pays 1.25% interest on just regular deposits. Now they have some promotions, and if you open a new account or if you do this, you do that, you might get a little bit more. And they'll try and push you into some kind of fixed interest rate vehicle like a GIC, a guaranteed investment certificate, something like that. But let's forget about that. Let's just say, boom, you win the 649, somebody plunks $1 million in your hand. They say, here, deposit this in your bank account. You don't want to have zero risk. So you say, okay, I'm just going to deposit my bank account, collect the interest. How much would you earn off of that $1 million? If somebody just came by and said, here you go, $649 million cash, put it in your bank account. If your bank is like mine, it would pay you 1.25% interest. That would give you $12,500 per year or $1,041 a month. So with $1 million, you could earn perpetual residual income every month, $1,041, a little over $1,000 a month. And like $1,000 for life. They have that lottery, $1,000 for life. It's a pretty decent income. You can live off $1,000. You could maybe rent a small room for, I don't know, $500 or $600 and spend the rest on groceries. I mean, it's a meager living, but it's a decent amount of money, right? To have $1 million in the bank. But that's not a very efficient use of $1 million. Currently, there's a stock on the Toronto Stock Exchange. I'm pulling it out as an example because I saw that it had a high yield. It's called Labrador Iron Ore Royalty. So it's a company that mines iron ore. If you invest into companies that are producing resources, they will pay you a dividend continually over time, like an oil and gas company, a gas producing company, natural gas producing company, or a company that's a established mining company, not a penny mining company, but like an established mining company that pays dividends, or one of the Canadian banks. See, this is the thing. If you deposit money with a Canadian bank, the first thing they'll recommend for you is either do nothing with it, invest it in a GIC where they'll pay you maybe 3% interest, or something along those lines, or a mutual fund or something like that. But what about if you invest in the actual bank's stock itself? The Canadian bank stocks are currently paying anywhere from 3, 4, 5, 6% interest, 6% return as a dividend. It's not interest, it's a dividend. They pay you a quarterly dividend to hold their shares. So you're much better off to take that deposit, put it into a tax-free savings account vehicle, and then invest in the bank stock so that you get an ongoing dividend. But I want to use this as an example. Stay with me here. Sorry, I'm going all over the map here. If you were able to get 11.38% return, which is what this company is paying right now for people that will buy their shares on the Toronto Stock Exchange, how much would you make? How much would you need to give you the same amount of income as $1 million cash sitting in your bank would give you? You would need $110,000. $110,000 invested in that Labrador Iron Ore Royalty Company that pays you 11.38% yield currently would give you $12,500 per year, or a little over $1,000 a month in income. So $110,000 is as effective as $1 million. It's the income producing asset. So how else could you make $1,000 a month? Well, let's say you were to self-publish a book on Amazon, and every time you sell one of those books, Amazon pays you a royalty of $5 per book. Let's say you sell the book for $19.95 or however much it is, so that it works out, you get $5 as a royalty. And that's not hard to do. You don't have to price the book at $25, $30 like they sell them in the stores. You can have a modest price on your book, probably anywhere from $14.95 US to $20 US, or somewhere in that range. Amazon pays you a very healthy, significant commission to self-publish your book, far more than you would ever get with a traditional publishing house that would hold on to your commission for months at a time. You'd have to negotiate a contract. There'd be all types of legalese details, and you wouldn't know what your sales are. They would control all the data. If you self-publish your own books, you could, and each book pays you $5 royalty. You could sell 200 copies a month to make $1,000 a month. Now, if you have a decent demand title, all kinds of titles that you can produce that are appealing to different categories of markets, maybe how to build a house, someone's interested in house building, or whatever skills you have. Maybe you're a yoga teacher and you know how to teach yoga. You can put that into a book format, or you can tell your life story about how you became a yoga teacher, or how you became a construction worker, or how you did something. Selling 200 copies of something a month, making a $5 royalty, is not difficult when you have a global marketplace at your fingertips. So that's another way. Once you produce that book, that becomes an income producing asset. The ownership of income producing assets is what wealth is. And that is how you can build wealth. If you're able to produce something that pays you on an ongoing basis. When you invest in a dividend stock, you buy a bank stock. That is an investment that continues to pay you without you having to punch a time clock, without you having to check in. You can still keep your job in the meantime, but the more that you're able to contribute towards income producing assets, if you keep that theme in mind as you grow throughout your life, and you, instead of going into debt for something, like the worst thing somebody can do after graduating from university usually is to go into debt for like a new vehicle, for example, or leasing a vehicle where you have to pay $300 a month or however much dollars per month. That's draining you. You think, oh, I've got a big salary, I can do it. But instead, you put that money into something that is producing income for you and continues to produce income for you. Then you can roll the profits into more income producing assets until you reach a exponential return on your investment, where you can stand back and say, okay, now I can start to give back. I'm making my $1,000 a month or $10,000 a month, and you can give a little bit to your local charity. You can give a little bit to your neighbor. You can give a little bit to the family member that needs help, or you can have some type of building program that you're making something for somebody that's going to help them or going to help their lives in perpetuity on a small scale. Could be building a garden where you're going to give free vegetables out to somebody. It could be building a small home for somebody, or helping them fix up their home. But if you have wealth, you have that option. If you don't have wealth and you're just struggling to stay alive yourself, and you're constantly trading your time for dollars and trading your time for dollars, and you're on this treadmill where you're paying hundreds of dollars in interest payments on your credit card, you cannot get ahead when you're just struggling to meet those minimal payments on all your debt obligations. So you have to stand back and say, okay, where am I right now? Is my wealth growing? I would highly recommend a very excellent resource by a fellow by the name of T. Harv Eker. He wrote a book called The Millionaire Mind, and he does seminars called The Millionaire Mind. And he offers a free a snapshot income statement that you can fill out, where you fill out all your assets and liabilities. It's just a straightforward balance sheet like they use in accounting to evaluate companies or what have you. It's a straightforward assets versus liabilities. How much money you have coming in, how much assets you have, how much liabilities you have, what's your net worth? And you track your net worth. So it's a net worth statement, essentially. You track your net worth on a monthly basis and try and determine whether you're getting ahead or getting deeper in debt. And if you're getting deeper in debt, you've got to start slashing and cutting and reorganizing your financial situation. You have to take a firm control of your finances. And if you're slowly getting ahead, then think of ways. You look on your analysis and say, okay, well, how can I increase my assets? How can I reduce my liabilities? And it gives you that visual representation of your financial situation in your life, because no one's going to do it for you. You can get all the financial advisors you want, and they'll tell you, okay, buy this mutual fund, or they'll try and sell you something to make a commission. Forget about having your own personal financial advisor. Be your own personal financial advisor. You know best how to handle your finances. People say, oh, I'm not good with money. I just go to work and I don't want to I need someone else to handle it. Well, if that's how you want to handle your finances, guess what? You're going to stay poor for your entire life. And if you're okay with that, happy trails. That's great. But if you want to take control of one of the most important areas of your life, and if you ask God to help you ahead of time, the teacher talked about money all the time, right? He said, make use of your talents. If you put God first, and he doesn't ask for a lot, right? You put God first, and then you say, Lord, help me with the resources that I have. He will bless what little you have. Remember the stories about the 5 loaves and the 2 fish. He's able to multiply what little somebody has if they bring it forward in faith and say, okay, I only have a little bit. I'm working for minimum wage. I've got all these expenses. I shouldn't have bought this vehicle, but I've got to make my monthly payments. And then, there's always something that comes up, unexpected expenses. I had to get the car. Stop all that. Just slow down, stop it all. And say, okay, I've got 5 loaves and 2 fishes. I need a miracle. How can I see there's people out there that have done it, they have a residual income. They have complete time freedom. They seem to be able to go on holiday when they want. They seem to be able to have a healthy, happy family life. They seem to be able to contribute to their community and help others every once in a while. They're not flamboyant, flashing money around, buying expensive sports cars or crazy things like that. But there are a ton of people that are living happy, successful lives, even in the midst of famine, which could be coming around the corner. You don't know, we could be facing a global worldwide recession or depression, or, there's a lot of doomsayers out there that's scary news that's going on. Oh, the market could crash, and this could go to zero, and that could go to zero. And it can be a little bit scary out there, right? But if we come to God and say, dear Lord, have mercy on me. I really want to prosper. In your word, it said in Jeremiah 29 that you have plans to prosper me. Are you talking about me, or are you talking about somebody else? Do the taxi driver on the Lord, right? Are you talking to me? That's a horrible movie, right? I'm sorry I ever watched that movie, but I mean, it's a classic, right? You ask God, right? Are you talking to me about this? I don't know why that popped into my head, probably because I've seen that movie too many times, so I apologize. But in that movie, he's being confrontational, to say the least, okay? But yeah, you can speak to God and say, Lord, your word says in Scripture, in Jeremiah 27, it said that you have plans to prosper me. And that you said, after I build a nice house, to give you credit for it and to thank you for it. And don't say it's by my own hand that I've generated this wealth, but to acknowledge you and say that but I need to generate that wealth in the first place to be able to acknowledge you. So can you please help me out? And you ask God for his help, and he may guide you into a new business opportunity. He may guide you into a new way to make some residual income. He may guide you into a way to reduce some expense that was sitting over your head. You may have a car that you're paying $300 a month on, and you're obligated, you're locked in, and you may find a way to get out of that lease where someone can take it over. You can sell it, and in such a way that you can have enough leftover money that you get a vehicle for free. I've seen it happen. crazy things can happen. We say, well, no, I can't do that because I'm locked in on this payment and I'm locked in on my monthly rent. I've seen people that have rented, have a rental place, and they've subletted to share space with somebody else that covers their own rent. And they let the person know. They say, look, I'm renting this 2-bedroom for $2,000 a month, but I'm going to rent out 1 bedroom for $2,000 a month because I'm temporarily out of work. And somebody comes in, sublets their place, allowing them to stay living there, and their rent is covered. How crazy is that? I mean, I'm not saying that that should be a strategy for somebody. This is not financial advice. I'm not a financial advisor, right? I'm just telling you some of the things I've seen in my 50 plus years of living on this planet. And some of the things I've seen are like financial miracles. And I've seen other things that are financial catastrophes. You know, I've heard stories, but firsthand through somebody that knows somebody, of medically trained professionals that have lost their career either through an unfortunate malpractice or an unfortunate health situation. So they might have spent 10 years studying, and their income going from $500,000 a year or several $100,000 a year to zero, and having huge amounts of debt, bordering on bankruptcy, causing them all types of personal heartache and headache and relationship trouble and one thing after another. And you think to yourself, look, at this guy was making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, but he's miserable. Why is that? And 9 times out of 10, it can be because they didn't put God first in their life. They said, oh, I can do all this on my own. Maybe they're believers. Maybe they're devout of a different religion. Maybe they're devout Christians, or they're devout Muslims, or devout Buddhists, or devout Jewish, or devout Hindu. It doesn't matter what their religion is, right? But they said, I'm going to do all this on my own strength. And they kind of forgot about God, whatever their religion, or you know, when I say God, I mean from a theistic perspective, the one that created us, that all nations of the world believe, and all cultures believe in one way or another. They say, oh no, these guys don't believe in a God. Come on. Everybody has the testimony of God within their own heart. We're told that from many different scriptural sources and from many different religions, that there is an awareness that we have been created to give glory to God, our Creator, and to live in harmony with Him and with our fellow man. That's essentially what theism teaches, right? Is that there's an opportunity for harmony. And we see that harmony exists, but there's also chaos. And a lot of times you look at somebody whose life is in chaos and look at the words that they speak. They'll say, oh, this always happens to me. I'm always going from one disaster to another. And they speak negativity into their life. Be very, very careful with what you speak. If you speak positive words saying, I'm getting ahead, I'm slowly getting ahead, my financial position is better this month than it was last month. Well, how are you going to know if you don't track it? Get that T. Harv Eker download. I'll try and see if I can find the link and put it in the description for you. It's free, online resource. And keep track of where you're going. If you don't know where you're going, how are you ever going to get to where you want to go? Pretty straightforward, right? I mean, if you're lost and going in circles and you're on a treadmill, how are you going to develop a strategy to improve your situation? And if you're happy with being on a treadmill for the rest of your life and you think that's what you're going to do and wander in the desert for 40 years, and then maybe you'll be lucky and be able to retire or something, you know, the distance that the Israelites had to travel to get to the promised land apparently could have taken maybe just a few weeks, maybe a month, or your financial position that you're in today, if it's not to your liking, could be radically transformed. Let's say today you're making $5,000 a month and you're spending $5,000 a month on whatever. Let's just hypothetical. What if you doubled the amount you were making and cut in half the amount you had to spend every month? How would your life outlook change? How would you be more positive about the future? How could you start building up residual income and different income streams from perhaps different investments? You could own some dividend producing stock in this company and that company, and you could own something that produces a residual income from a portion of ownership in this business or that business. You know what I'm getting at, right? So I hope these things will help you think. I just wanted to do a quick short video for you on a different topic because I want to leave you with something that I'm hoping will help you. So I'll leave the link in the description for that statement for you, and I hope it helps. But thank you so much for watching. God bless you. I love you very much. Have a great day. Bye-bye.